The Potter's Hands, a journey from city life to craftsmanship. It was a Saturday evening in early December 2018, and I found myself caught in the typical Mumbai traffic. The city's roads, congested with an endless stream of cars, honking scooters, and crowded buses, seemed like a labyrinth I would never escape. I sat in my taxi, inching forward at a snail's pace as the cacophony of the city enveloped me. The noise, the pollution, and the sheer volume of people, all of it weighed heavily on my mind. I was 32, working as a marketing executive for a prominent advertising agency. To the outside world, I was successful, living the urban dream. I had a well-paying job, a modern apartment in Andheri, and a bustling social life. But deep down, I was discontented, weary of the unending hustle and the pursuit of a lifestyle that felt increasingly superficial. The taxi finally dropped me off at my apartment building, and as I stepped into the elevator, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the mirrored walls. I saw a tired, haggard face looking back at me, with eyes that seemed devoid of life. That moment was a turning point. I realized that I was merely going through the motions, living a life that wasn't truly mine. The decision to leave the city didn't come easily. It took months of introspection, countless conversations with friends and family, and the courage to step into the unknown. I had always harbored a fascination for rural life, a yearning to experience a simpler, more authentic way of living. As a child, I had visited my grandparents in a small village near Pune, and those memories were some of my most cherished. In January 2019, I finally made the leap. I resigned from my job, sold most of my possessions, and started planning my move. I researched various villages across India, looking for a place that resonated with my desire for simplicity and a connection to nature. After much deliberation, I chose Madikeri, a small village nestled in the foothills of the Western Ghats, known for its rich cultural heritage and a thriving community of artisans. The journey to Madikeri, leaving the city behind. The journey from Mumbai to Madikeri was long and arduous, but it was also filled with a sense of excitement and anticipation. I took an overnight train to Coimbatore, and from there, a local bus to the village. As the bus wound its way through the narrow mountain roads, I was captivated by the breathtaking beauty of the landscape. The lush green forests, the mist-covered hills, and the sparkling streams all felt like a balm to my weary soul. When I finally arrived in Madikeri, I was greeted by a serene and picturesque setting. The village was a far cry from the chaotic streets of Mumbai. Here, life moved at a slower pace, and people seemed to live in harmony with the land and each other. The houses were simple yet charming, made of mud and thatch, with colorful rangolis adorning their doorsteps. The villagers welcomed me with open arms. They were curious about the newcomer from the city, but they didn't pry. Instead, they treated me like one of their own, inviting me to join in their daily activities and community gatherings. I rented a small cottage on the outskirts of the village, surrounded by fields and forests. It was a modest dwelling, but it felt like home. Settling into village life, a new rhythm. The first few weeks in Madikeri were a period of adjustment. I was used to the convenience and efficiency of city life, and the slower pace of the village took some getting used to. The days were filled with simple tasks, fetching water from the well, tending to the vegetable garden, and cooking meals on a wood-fired stove. At first, these tasks seemed laborious and time-consuming, but as I settled into the rhythm of village life, I began to appreciate the beauty and simplicity of each moment. One of the first things I noticed was the profound sense of community in Madikeri. Unlike the anonymity of city life, The villagers knew each other intimately and were always ready to lend a helping hand. Whether it was a communal gathering to repair a roof, a festive celebration, or a simple evening of storytelling, the people of Madikeri shared their lives with each other in a way that was both heartwarming and inspiring. As I spent more time in the village, I became increasingly curious about the local crafts and traditions. Madikeri was known for its pottery, and the villagers took great pride in their craftsmanship. I would often watch the potters at work, fascinated by the way they transformed lumps of clay into beautiful pieces of art. Their hands moved with a grace and precision that spoke of years of practice, and the joy and satisfaction they derived from their work were evident in their expressions. Meeting Hari, the master craftsman ***. It was during one of these visits to a pottery workshop that I met Hari, an elderly potter who was renowned for his skill and artistry. Hari's workshop was a simple structure made of mud and bamboo, with a thatched roof and an earthen floor. Inside, it was filled with the tools of his trade: potter's wheels, kilns, and shelves lined with clay pots in various stages of completion. Hari was a tall, wiry man with a weathered face and kind eyes that sparkled with a youthful enthusiasm. He greeted me with a warm smile and invited me to sit with him as he worked. As I watched him shape a lump of clay into a graceful vase, I was struck by the serenity and focus with which he worked. There was a quiet confidence in his movements, a deep connection to the clay that was almost spiritual. Over the next few days, I found myself drawn to Hari's workshop, eager to learn more about the art of pottery. Hari was a patient and generous teacher, and he was delighted to share his knowledge and skills with me. He taught me how to prepare the clay, how to center it on the wheel, and how to shape it into different forms. He showed me how to use natural dyes and glazes to decorate the pots, and how to fire them in the kiln to give them strength and durability. Working with clay was a revelation for me. It was a tactile and meditative experience that required patience, focus, and a deep connection to the earth. As I kneaded the clay and felt its cool, pliable texture in my hands, I felt a sense of calm and tranquility that I hadn't known in years. The repetitive motion of the potter's wheel, the feel of the clay yielding to my touch, and the satisfaction of creating something beautiful with my own hands all brought me a sense of joy and fulfillment. Learning the craft, the journey of a novice potter. At first, my attempts at pottery were clumsy and uneven. The clay seemed to have a mind of its own, collapsing or taking on strange shapes as I tried to mold it. But Hari was patient and encouraging. He reminded me that pottery was a craft that required time and practice, and that mistakes were an essential part of the learning process. As I spent more time at the wheel, I began to understand the nuances of the craft. I learned to listen to the clay, to feel its texture and weight, and to adjust my movements accordingly. I discovered that working with clay was as much about letting go as it was about control. It was about finding a balance between guiding the clay and allowing it to take its own shape. Hari's teachings extended beyond the technical aspects of pottery. He often spoke about the philosophy and spirituality of the craft, about the importance of being present in the moment, and of finding peace and harmony in the simple act of creation. He taught me that pottery was a way of connecting with the earth, of honoring the natural world and the resources it provided. Through my work with the clay, I began to see parallels with my own life. Just as the clay needed to be centered on the wheel before it could be shaped, I realized that I needed to find my own center, to ground myself in the present moment, and to let go of the worries and anxieties that had plagued me for so long. I learned to trust the process, to accept that things wouldn't always go as planned, and to find beauty in imperfection. Embracing a simpler life, the lessons of the village. As the months passed, I found myself transforming in ways I hadn't expected. The city dweller who had arrived in Madukuri, stressed and disconnected, was slowly fading away. In his place was someone who felt more at peace, more in tune with himself and the world around him. I had discovered a sense of purpose and fulfillment in the simple act of creating something with my hands, in the quiet moments of reflection by the river, and in the shared laughter and conversations with the villagers. The lessons I learned in Madukuri went beyond the craft of pottery. I learned to live in harmony with nature, to respect the land and the resources it provided, and to appreciate the rhythms of village life. I learned the value of community, of being part of something larger than myself, and of contributing to the well-being of others. The people of Madukuri lived a life that was simple yet rich in meaning. They valued relationships and connections, and they found joy and fulfillment in the everyday tasks of living. They taught me to slow down, to savor the moment, and to find beauty in the small things: a shared meal, a walk through the fields, a conversation by the fire. Finding my center, a journey of self-discovery. My journey to Madukuri had started as an escape from the pressures of city life, but it had become so much more than that. It was a journey of self-discovery, of finding my own path, and of embracing a way of life that felt authentic and meaningful. The mountains had shown me the beauty of solitude, the power of nature, and the importance of living in harmony with the world around us. Through my work as a potter, I found a sense of peace and contentment that I had never known before. The craft allowed me to express myself creatively, to connect with the earth, and to contribute to the community in a meaningful way. It gave me a sense of purpose and fulfillment that I hadn't experienced in my previous life. As I embraced this new way of life, I found that my priorities were shifting. The things that had once seemed so important, career success, material possessions, and social status, now felt insignificant. Instead, I was drawn to the things that brought me joy and fulfillment, creativity, connection, and a deep appreciation for the natural world. A new path, sharing the beauty of pottery. As my skills as a potter improved, I began to think about how I could share this craft with others. I started teaching pottery classes to the children in the village, showing them how to work with clay and create their own pieces. The joy and excitement in their eyes as they molded the clay into shapes was infectious, and I found a new sense of purpose in passing on the knowledge and skills that Hari had taught me. I also started selling my pottery in the local markets, and the response was overwhelming. People were drawn to the simple, elegant designs and the natural materials I used. I began to receive orders from nearby towns and cities, and I found that there was a growing appreciation for handcrafted, sustainable products. Through my work, I was able to connect with people from all walks of life: artists, craftsmen, travelers, and nature enthusiasts. I shared my story and the lessons I had learned in Madukuri, and I found that many people were looking for the same things I had found here: a sense of peace, a connection to nature, and a simpler way of life. Epilogue: a life transformed. It has been 2 years since I first arrived in Madukuri, and my life has been transformed in ways I never imagined. I am no longer the city dweller who was constantly chasing after success and material possessions. Instead, I am a potter, a craftsman, and a part of a community that values simplicity, connection, and the beauty of the natural world. The lessons I have learned in Madukuri have stayed with me, guiding me in my daily life and reminding me of what truly matters. I have found a sense of peace and contentment that I never thought possible, and I am grateful for the journey that brought me here. As I continue to work with clay, to shape it and mold it into beautiful pieces of art, I am reminded of the power of transformation. Just as the clay is transformed by the hands of the potter, so too have I been transformed by my time in Madikeri. I have found my own center, my own path, and a sense of purpose that brings me joy and fulfillment. And as I share my story with others, I hope to inspire them to find their own paths, to embrace the beauty of a simpler life, and to discover the power of connection with themselves, with others, and with the natural world. I hope you like this story. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe channel.